Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze how Lennart Karl played a key role in Bayern Munich's 4-0 win over Club Brugge. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, as stated in our video that emphasized the threat that Laimer and Luis Diaz presented, we had Bayern Munich in a 4-2-3-1 and Club Brugge in a 4-1-4-1. The emphasis on this video will be the impact from Lennart Karl in that midfield zone, and we're going to break down how he was capable of getting into very good positions, as he did lead Bayern by scoring a beautiful opening goal. How did he do that? Well, when you look in that midfield zone, it is 3v3. And as stated in the previous video, we did see a shift in Bayern's build-up shape. Normally, we end up seeing one of Pavlovic or Kimmich shifting in towards the inside positions to create a back three. And then one of the central midfielders will hold the center of the pitch. That will see Laimer and Guerrero pushing into inverted positions and dragging away the wide players. And then you have Elise and Diaz hugging the touchline to stretch the pitch. This is where you often see Harry Kane having an impact because he often drops into those deeper positions to serve as a free outlet. And over the past few weeks, we've witnessed him thrive in a quarterback role. Here, Club Brugge wanted to ensure that Kane couldn't dominate that center of the pitch, and they often had Stankovic picking up Kane when he dropped off into central areas, and if Kane looked to push higher, then he would simply be occupied by the center backs. However, if you have Kane being occupied by Stankovic and then you have the two Club Brugge shuttlers stepping towards Pavlovic and Kimmich, but that leaves Karl free in that inside right position just ahead of the left center back and the left back, with the left back being stretched out to close down Elise, and now you need one of the center backs, specifically the left center back, to close down Karl. The other advantage that Bayern have here is that they do have 2v1 against the Club Brugge center forward, and that's where you often saw Forbes shifting in towards a narrow position, looking to close down Jonathan Tah, and that left Laimer free in that left back role, and it played an impact in him stretching out Forbes and helping Bayern create avenues and overloads down that left-hand side. On the right-hand side, Guerrero was dragging away the left-sided attacking midfielder for Club Brugge, and that created more space for Karl to receive the ball in those free zones. And what you often saw here was that if it wasn't the center backs playing the ball in towards Karl, free in that space between the lines, then it would be Pavlovic or Kimmich who had the space ahead of the shuttlers to play that ball in between Stankovic and Vanaken to find Karl between the lines, and from there he did a very good job of receiving the ball, retaining possession, and combining with teammates, specifically Elise, to help Bayern retain possession higher up the pitch and progress their attacking towards the final third. Here, Bayern had their two central midfielders in Pavlovic and Kimmich in the central positions, and they were forming a box around the Club Brugge center forward, and from there they were dragging out the two shuttlers from the away side, and that's where you would see Kane now dropping off deeper. Prior to Karl's 5th minute opener, you witnessed two separate scenarios where you had both Kimmich and Pavlovic closed down by the shuttlers, and Stankovic stepping towards Kane, so it'd be Tah and Upamecano playing the ball around that midfield bank to find Karl in a gap where you'd have to pull out the left center back or the left attacking midfielder away from Guerrero. That's why in the build up to the opener, it was no surprise that you ended up seeing Tah playing the ball in towards Karl in that zone again, where you'd see the left attacking midfielder shifting away from Guerrero to close him down, and Karl did a very good job of spinning away from him, and then he was able to drive beyond the center back that was pulled higher up the pitch, and from there he was able to carry the ball in towards the final third, and he has runs from both Diaz and Kane breaking in towards the penalty area, and neither of the center backs stepped, so he's able to have enough time to curl a superb effort beyond the keeper. Along with that threat, the other issue that the away side experienced was the fact that Karl was simply running off Stankovic and he wasn't being tracked when he broke in towards those zones, and they were warned in the early stages when Kimmich and Elise combined, and luckily for them, Olise's pass over the top was slightly overhit. But minutes later, you witnessed Kimmich on the ball and no pressure applied, and it's simply Karl running beyond the center back and Stankovic, as you do have Kane dropping off in towards that midfield zone. So you could see that they pull away the left center back, and Kimmich simply plays the ball between the left center back and the left back, and that's where you see Karl chasing the ball in towards the right channel, carrying it in towards the penalty area, and pulling it back into the path of Elise, who now has the ability to square the ball towards Pavlovic, and from this position, Pavlovic is able to curl an effort off the post. Ultimately, in that opening half, it became a reoccurring theme where it'd be one of the center backs bypassing Stankovic to find Karl running off a marker, and from there, he'd be able to carry the ball in towards the final third to create a legitimate goal scoring opportunity. And the other threat that Bayern posed was that they were able to pull away the left center back, whether it be Kane or Carl himself dragging out that marker, and then someone from the back line, if it's not the center backs, on the rare occasion where Pavlovic or Kimmich would drop deeper in towards that zone, they'd be able to use their passing ability to find Carl running off a midfielder to break in towards the final third. And from there, he could combine with his teammates, and he often served as a link in the final third to connect midfield and attack and place his teammates in legitimate goal scoring positions where they could create for themselves or others. So as you can see, this was a positive European performance for Lennart Karl, in which his vertical running off his markers provided several issues for a Club Brugge side who simply failed to cope with this threat amongst others presented through company's tactical setup.